Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Triggered Care. I'm Alex, and today we are discussing, or I'm sharing my experience of when I decided to go no contact with my family, specifically my mother, but I kind of knew that the entire family was in that package deal. And what led to that decision? Pretty much the last straw that I could not accept that from another person. I couldn't accept that in my life. This was a real first big boundary that I put up, and I'll tell you what, I've never regretted putting this boundary up. So, let's get into it. Alright, a little background first. I went no contact with my family back in 2015, about 2 years into recovery. I thought about NC before that, though. For about a year I was seriously considering it and kind of knew that I had to do it at some point. But my sisters and my stepdad delayed that decision from happening. I still love them so much. And I knew that once I cut Ma off, I would not be going to family functions. I wouldn't be going to birthday parties. And so I really wanted to kind of delay that and spend as much time with my family as I could. My sisters were still in school. They were still minors. And that also kind of kept me from pulling the plug on that, being like, well, I can wait it out until they're graduated. And then that way they'll have the freedom to come see me if they want to. But I did not make it till all of them were out of the house. Because in 2015, I was, hitting recovery hard. I had a son. I was working through this stuff. And some memories came back. And not that they were repressed, but those memories where you don't think about them since they happened? Like, it's not that you repress them. It's just that you have not taken the time to think about them. You've been living life, not thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it hits you, and you start reflecting on that from an adult perspective versus a child's perspective. Well, that's what happened, and I'm gonna share that memory with you. Maybe you can relate, maybe you can't. Either way, I will be sharing. So the memory. I was 13 years old. This was during my homeschool days. My second year of homeschool, I got online schooled by some online academy. And when I was in that online school, I was somewhat lonely. So I started visiting the chat rooms around 12 years old is when I started visiting the chat rooms. But this was still going on when I was 13. I started getting groomed by pedophiles. I was a pretty easy target. I was so thirsty for love and for attention that when pedophiles tried grooming me, I fit right into that mold. They wanted to tell me that I was beautiful and that I was one of a kind and that I was sweet. And I wanted to hear that because I didn't hear that very often. I did not have a solid foundation to be like, hey, this is creepy. I had a shitty foundation that was like, oh, look, people care about me. And soon enough, I was taking pictures for them. I was making video for them. I was fully engrossed in the kiddie porn production. And there were a handful of pedophiles that I talked to who would tell me nice things in exchange for me making kiddie porn for them. And I was 12, 13 at this time. So the computer that I used to make the still images and the webcam that I had set up, I didn't hide stuff. I didn't think about hiding stuff. I saved the pictures just in the picture thing because I was a kid. I didn't know. Well, it's not even that I knew that it was illegal. Like, I knew that it was wrong somehow. Because while I was doing it, I would feel shame and I would feel guilt. And I thought it was because I was being an adult and I was a kid, so I wasn't supposed to be acting like an adult. but I didn't know of the legal ramifications for that sort of behavior. And one day, Ma likes snooping through all my shit. She was snooping. I don't know where I was. I was probably with my friend or whatever, but she's snooping through my computer. She finds these pictures. Next time she sees me, she asked me about it. She goes, "Alex, are you taking naked pictures for older men online?" And I get terrified as shit. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Because I knew that it was wrong somehow. Not really why or how, but I didn't want to get in trouble for it. And she responds with, okay, and never brings it up again. And, people can speculate and be like, well, maybe she really didn't know. She went through all my shit all the time. I did not hide it. Even if she logged onto my computer, she would know from the messages that would automatically pop up from my pedophile men who are like, "Alex, sweetie, how's it going, beautiful?" Or even going through my message history and seeing that there's sexually explicit content on there, which she probably did, because she does not care about. Also, it's not like I had a password on my computer. There was no, this is back in the day before there was a login with a password. You just turned it on and it started up. So that was the first half of the memory where I'm like, holy buckets, I cannot look at this woman, I cannot stand this woman. Because the next memory is from the same time period. I was 12, 13 years old. I had started overdosing regularly. And what I mean by that is I had extra strength pain relievers in my room, and I would take 8 to 12 a day. And there was this one time that I took 20, and that was the first time that I tried to kill myself. And it did not work. I just passed out and woke up. But anyway, this is around the same time that I'm stripping on webcam, that I'm making kiddie porn. All of this is going on at once. And on this particular day, I'm calling my best friend, who's also homeschooled, via landline, because this is back before everybody had a cell phone. And there were 4 phones in the house with landline. And they're all connected, just, you got one in your room. So I was on this phone, and I'm confiding in my friend, talking to her, oh, well, I took however many pills yesterday. I feel like I have to take this many today. I don't want to live anymore. And my friend is trying to support me. When you're that young, you don't know how to respond to a crisis. So she's just like, Alex, people love you. I love you. Please don't hurt yourself. Please don't die. I don't know what I'm going to do if you die. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to live this out, but it's really hard. I don't want to live anymore. And so we get done on the phone, and she makes me cry a little bit. I make her cry a little bit. Just 2 kids trying to support each other. After I get done off the phone, my ma calls me over to her side of the trailer, so of course I'm running to see what she needs. And she tells me, I was listening to that phone call. Is it true that you're taking all these pills? And I already knew that if she listened to the frickin' phone call that I couldn't lie about it, so I'm like, yeah, that's true. Okay. Then she sends me to my room, and she's following me with a big, mega bottle of extra strength pain relievers. And she leaves it on my shelf after I go back into my room and I sit on my bed waiting for a lecture, waiting to get punished or whatever. Instead of punishing me or lecturing me, she just leaves a big bottle. And when I say big bottle, there's over 100 pills in that damn bottle. And she left it on my shelf. Immediately after hearing that I had tried to kill myself earlier. And these memories came back to me while I was sitting in my garage having a smoke. And I knew. As soon as they came back, it was like, holy shit, that bitch wanted me dead. So I had to cut it off. And I took about a week to write out a really well written out no contact text that I was going to mass text to my entire family, to my dad, to my sisters, to my ma, just explaining, for my mental health recovery, I need a break from ma and mine's relationship. I understand if that means that I can't see the rest of you for a while too. I understand. And so that's when I did it. Is when I had those epiphanies, and those were pretty big epiphanies. The epiphany of, holy shit, she wanted me dead. And it wasn't just neglect. It's not like, oh, well, these things were going on and she didn't know about them. These things were going on. She found out about them and then chose to not act on them. She chose to let pedophiles do that to me without letting me know what the fuck was actually going on. And she chose to let me overdose on pills, and not only that, encourage it. And she encouraged me to kill myself later years, especially through high school. That was a popular phrase of hers, along with encouraging me to cut myself and all that sort of deal. So, I mean, and you know what? I shouldn't be surprised at this point. And because when I first cut myself, she saw those cuts too and didn't react to it. She didn't give a fuck. And it just surprised me that it took me that long into adulthood. At this point, I was 22, 23 years old. And it took me that long to realize, to put the logic together of, oh my God, this woman should not be in my life. She should not be in my son's life. She should not be in anyone that I love. She should not be in their life. Because that is a big moral line that you fucking cross when you let your child get molested and get all sorts of abuse. And not only that, your child's abusing themselves, they're cutting themselves, they're overdosing on pills, and you're just gonna fucking ignore it and provide more destructive material for your child. That's a whole new level of fucked, in my experience. If you can relate to that, I just want to say, I am so sorry. I wish I could eradicate those horrible memories for you, because I know I want them eradicated from my head. Because once you remember them, they do not leave easily. And it's like there's this rage, but you really can't act on it. There's nothing to do except for try to recover and do it through healthy ways, which is not as gratifying as just having one big rage out. But to mental health, we need to stick to recovery, and we need to stick to positive things so we ourselves don't fall into the negative projection and all that sort of deal. Do you have going no contact stories? Do you have the straw that broke the camel back stories? If so, share them. Share them with us. Share them with me. If you'd like me to make a video about your last straw story, send me a message. We're in this together, especially for us survivors who had parents who either didn't give a shit or were purposely apathetic and evil. It does not matter whether your parents were evil or not. If your parent pushed you to the point where you're like, I can't maintain this relationship because of the toxicity, that's a story worth sharing. And that's the thing is, my story isn't as severe as some others. It's more severe than others, which is why there's no point of comparing it. There's no point of comparing trauma. Because once you are broke, once you are hurt, you are broke. It does not matter if you're shattered into one piece or into two different pieces or a million different pieces. And I actually took that line from Ollie Matthews from earlier on in my recovery days. I remember him saying that, and that really stuck with me. It does not matter if you're broken half or broken to a million different pieces. You are broke, and you deserve some love, and you deserve some recovery. So that was my story time today. It's a bit morbid, but, my life's a bit morbid. And that's honestly why I share this stuff, is because I know that there's other morbid people out there and morbid survivors out there who would like to hear some more stuff about their own experience, but since it's such a small percentage of us who have to live through this crazy shit, there's not much out there. So I encourage you to share. I encourage you to be happy, to be proud of yourself, and have a good one.